Hello, hello, hello. How are we all on this summer's day? I come equipped with water. I've got antihistamines. We're all set for another wonderful live stream, live here from Consonance Towers up in northern Scotland. So we are going to be covering a host of things today, but in a format that I know you'll know and love by now. Let's have a look to see what we're going to be looking at today. Task of the week. Today we're going to be adding a royalty specifier. We've not glossed over. We've not glossed over the stuff from. Oh, Liz says I sound echoey. Okay, I'll stop echoing. We've glossed over a whole royalties run previously. But I think I'll just switch back to my normal thing. Liz, let me know if that sounds any better. We've gone through a whole royalty run previously, but we did sort of gloss over it. So today we're going to dive down into a little bit more detail and tackle setting up some of that royalty information right from the start. In the reporting spotlight today is batches. From our own correspondence is also batches. It's been a batch week. We've got a few interesting things in what's new, and we've got a power. I mean, I keep pretending every week that this power move is an exciting new bonus. It's a thing. It's a fixture. We're going to just go with it and make sure that we show you each week what wonderful things you can do to get some really good dynamic, impressive use out of this system. So let's see, where are we? We're going to be specifying royalties to start with. And as I say, when we did our royalty run the other day, it was kind of straightforward. I think it was 10% of net receipts, which sometimes happens. That's a thing that, often we can say, a contract might be as straightforward as that. But particularly when you're implementing royalties from your legacy data that go back a long way, there may be some interesting things in there that you're going to have to take out of a Word document and put into a computer system. And so we're going to be looking at some of those more difficult to reason with specifiers. So I'll tap down on this thing and see what we've got first of all. The first thing we've got is kind of a copy and paste, from a Word document of a kind of normal publishing contract. And you'll have a clause in there and it'll say something like, the publishers shall make the following payments to the author in respect of sales of the work. I mean, this is one of the problems, isn't it, with putting words into a contract. We've kind of hard-coded the word author in there. And we would much prefer that contributors are used as a word, because translators and illustrators and editors and other contributors to the work should be represented and recompensed. But here we are. I shan't fixate on just the particular words here. The important bit on this page is that there's 10% of the net amounts received by the publishers. And again, I've skipped over that initial line there. It says hardback editions. Oh, and there's such a world of pain buried within those two words. And I've got you some reading for later actually on our marketing marketing website. If you find this page called About Products, then I'll go into great detail about why the words that we use are so important. I'll give you a little look at what I'm talking about. Here's the page, and here's some information about why we call particular things those names within Consonance. And we're in an industry where we care about words, we care about clarity of communication. And so when in the Consonance interface you see the words works and products, what you're not seeing there are the more difficult words to get clarity around, such as format and edition and book. And, you can read at your leisure some opinions about this sort of thing. But, you know, if you were to use the word edition to mean a product, there's ambiguity, because you can have a paperback edition, which is a format descriptor, or a second edition, which is a time descriptor, or the Penguin edition, which is a publisher descriptor, or the library edition, which is a customer descriptor. And it's such a jam-packed word, overused, or a territory descriptor as well. So, you know, anyway, use care when you're describing the things that we produce within this industry, and enjoy reading this. And definitely, if you have feedback and opinions, very, very keen to hear that sort of thing. So here we are. So hardback editions, without worrying about what that means. 10% of the net amounts received by the publishers on all copies sold throughout the world. So picking that apart, it's a flat rate. There's no escalators. So that's simplicity for a start. Great news. Sold throughout the world. So there's no sort of subdivision of sales channels here. Also good news. On all copies is also keeping it nice and broad there. So I'm going to take you over to Consonance now, and we're going to look at how you set up this nice vanilla straightforward situation. So here we are on an imaginary work for an imaginary publisher on their not quite imaginary contract page. So I'm going to click on royalties to get down to this bit. And if you've been using this part of the system for a while, you'll notice that we've improved the styling on this section. So that's what we're looking at today. And let me find my pre-prepared one earlier. Here's my 10% of net receipts on the hardback. And this is for all of the sales. There's no subdivision into sub-channels. There's no overrides. And if we click edit to look at the detail of that, this is what we're looking at. What will the royalty calculations be based on? There's a number of different ways that people talk about what this thing is, this net receipts thing. We've tried to cover both of them here. Discount, net receipts. It's when you pay your royalties based on what you receive in, as opposed to the price printed on the back of the book. And that is list price. So that it's almost binary. We've got two options for list price there, but we're saying that this is net receipts. The royalty calculations will be based on net receipts, and the rate will be 10%. And we've got no escalators, and we're done. It's a straightforward option on this. So that is great news, but I promised you complexity. So complexity you shall get. So let's tab down on this PowerPoint, see what we've got next. Okay, same preamble, but now we've got an escalator, because these words say, on home sales, 7.5% of the net amounts received by the publishers, rising to 10% after 1,000 copies sold. So let's hop back over to our bit of the contract page. This is a volume escalator. It's based on how many copies have been sold. And so from the author or the pay recipient's point of view, they are going to get a certain percentage of the sales paid to them for the first 1,000 units sold, and then a certain percentage thereafter. And so, did I even put one in? I didn't put one in, so we'll add one here. So let's say it's for the audio file. Did I say? Yeah, you see, I just said on home sales. Could be any product. Specificity is the key here. Let's click edit here to add this in. So it's again a base rate, I guess, of 10%. And this time we're adding a quantity escalator. Click on quantity escalator, and when 1,000 units have been sold, the rate is going to go up by 2.5%. Oh, not 25. Good Lord. We'll be out of business. So there we go. Let's press save there. Now my working memory is such that I'm going to have to go back here. No, 7.5 rising to 10%. Try again. 7.5% rising to 10%. There we go. So, I've added it here, 7.5, there's my units sold, and I can add further steps and further rate changes. And when I press save, this is the summary here, it's going to sort of lay out that information in a way where you can kind of look at it again and think, yes, that's exactly what I want to have happen. For all of the sales up until 999 units, I'm going to pay 7.5%. And for all units thereafter, for 1,000 units plus, it's 10%. And if you think, oh no, actually it should be up to exactly 1,000, then you can go back in and change it. So again, that's, I mean, it's not super straightforward, but it's fairly straightforward. A volume escalator. And then let's have a look to see what is coming next. So another, we can see again the word rising immediately on here. This one says paperback formats. I mean, again, read the thing on our website to say what I think about the word formats. Paperback formats on home sales, 7.5% of the net amounts received by the publishers, rising to 10% after, and then a date, and 12.5% after a further date. So previously we said when a sales volume threshold has passed, change things up. Now we're saying when the inexorable passage of time occurs, change things up. So let's go back to our interface here. Pretty sure I did this one earlier. Yeah. So here we go. So we've got a date escalator for this one. From the point of publication up until the 31st of December 2025, pay this amount, and then go up, and then go up thereafter. So that's another type of escalator that can be supported. Let's click edit to see how you fill in the form to make that happen. So it's based off of net receipts again. Here's the base rate, I guess. We've got some more fields appeared here. You can add in the minimum total royalty rate and the maximum total royalty rate if that's elsewhere within the contract that you're trying to agree. And then, here's the date escalator. So this has got 2 steps, and we've selected a date. We've said what the rate should change by at this point. We can remove them, we can add further ones, but that's how we add that information in. And as I say, then saving or cancelling takes us back, and we can see that laid out in an interesting fashion. So this brings us to let's see what the next one is on this. So we've still got our date instructions in the contract somewhere here, but quite often, a contract is necessarily linear, but sometimes relevant information can be scattered around. And again, it's this problem of having information in a Word document rather than a database, sort of 2 slightly different words clashing with each other there. But later on in this contract, there's a little clause tucked in, and it says no royalties shall be payable on copies provided gratis under clause of blah, blah, blah. And so that's actually extremely relevant to our bit of the contract that talks about rates in different categories and in different sales and in different time periods. If the sales are gratis, the royalty rate is 0. So you manage that by having a sales channel, and you call it something plausible like gratis. These words are entirely user defined, so whatever you want to write down, you can say free copies or something like that. When you're uploading sales into Consonance, you upload your gratis sales into that channel, and then you say that there are no royalties payable on it by saying the rate is 0. I mean, it's still really useful, isn't it, to capture sales, sort of movement of copies that attract no revenue and attract no royalty payment out, because then your contributors can see that their contractually needed copies have been sent to them, that marketing and review copies have been sent out. If you're on the academic side, that peer review copies have circulated appropriately. So this is useful reporting information for visibility and insight. But sometimes you need to override other settings. So this is a good example of that. So there's our gratis, and that means, do you see that by default for all of the downloadable audio files, sales are going to attract a particular escalated royalty amount, but there's an override for sub-channel sales. And gratis is a good example, but you can do that for all sorts of things. I think this is very much one of those areas where if you have a particular setup and you want to talk about it, definitely get in touch. We're very happy to talk about it. But let's see what the next slide is on our live stream agenda, and it's an absolute doozy. And it's a really good example of the fact that you can write kind of whatever you want in a Word document, but somebody else is going to have to type that information into a calculator, or they're going to have to add it into a royalty system, and it's going to have to make sense. And this does actually make sense. Of course, I'm including it so that I can show you. But some clauses really do defy belief. And this comes pretty close. So let's read it. On electronic home sales, I mean, what does that even mean? Electronic sales. Are we talking about the product being electronic, selling in the UK market if you're in the UK? I guess so. I shouldn't nitpick. On electronic home sales, 10% of the list price, okay, fine, good, except on sales where a discount on list price of 55% or higher is offered, then 4/5 of the prevailing rate shall be paid, and on sales achieving a discount of 65% or higher than 3/5 of the prevailing rate shall be paid. And I'm not joking, I copied and pasted that. So this is an example where some very imaginative typing has been done, and we're going to have to try and make sense of it. So let's go over to our interface and see. And I've put this one in already, so we're going to have a look at it. Here's our specifier. It's list price, and we're saying discount escalators are multiplicative. And that means we're going to be multiplying the rate that we put in as opposed to adding it as a percentage point. So we'll get to that bit. What's the total royalty percentage? 10%. Simple. But then let's turn on discount escalator here, and we say if the discount from list price is 55%, then it's 80% of the prevailing rate. So 80% is the same as 4/5. 4/5 is the fraction, 80% is the percentage. So that's why we say 0.8 there. And then discount from list price, if that's 65%, then the factor is 0.6, 60%. And that's the same as 3/5. Just checking my maths, good. And so that's how you do it. That's how you sort of make sense of that sort of rather sort of unresolvable. It's not very easy to read it and know what you're getting out. I think that's the problem I have with it. And so I really like actually being able to put it into form fields on consonants and achieve clarity about what exactly it is that we're talking about. So that's it. So we can also do that sort of thing for adding percentage points, as I mentioned. So we could say, 10% of net receipts and its list price, 10% of list price, but the discount escalators are additive. So if we turn on discount escalator there, then we'd say, well, when the discount gets above 55%, then let's say that the rate goes down by 3%, 3 percentage points. And then if we choose that, then that's all, sort of building up this picture to be ever richer. So those are royalty specifiers. I guess one other thing to say here is that the two fairly recent additions, as in the last 3 years, I suppose, is that we have a work level royalty specifier and then subsequent product level royalty specifiers. So if your business case requires you to be able to manage at that sort of level, then that is possible. And then the other thing that we've delivered, gosh, I can't even remember when, but feels fairly recent, it's probably like 6 years ago or something, is sale value escalators. So we can say, base is 10%, but then if we sell more than 100,000 units, 100,000 currency amounts worth, depending on what your currency is, then change the rate there. So all sorts of things there. And if you're super brave, you can mix and match them, and Consonance will handle it beautifully. But whether your authors and agents will be able to make sense of what you're promising is another matter entirely, which brings me to just round off this bit by downloading the PDF contract for this extremely complex set of calculations that we've tasked Consonance with. You can tell by now I'm a little bit anti complex arithmetic being written out in longhand, and so on the PDF, when you download it, you get all of the verbiage, and we'll do another day maybe how to put the words in. But then as schedules at the end of the contract, you get this information in tables, and I feel like data tables are a much more relevant way to store this information, can be understood and picked through. So yes, you get your PDF statement out kind of for free once you have entered in this information, and this information is used to calculate the royalties. So there's a lot of steps here where you are not entering data twice. So it's definitely worth a look. As I've been talking today, I've certainly been talking to you as if you know what I'm talking about. Once you have started doing royalties, this stuff will be front and centre of your mind. If you're very new to royalties, maybe let us know and we can do a real primer on how things work within the publishing industry. I've been bandying around words such as discount and net receipts, and we can go through exactly what that means and what some of the norms of the trade are. It is quite weird, isn't it, that the supplier, the publisher, sets the retail price. It's called the retail price for a reason. The retailer tends to set it in other industries. But in publishing, the supplier, the publisher, sets the retail price and then offers a discount off of that retail price to their customers. So perhaps a legacy of us living in a very mature industry, but there's all sorts of norms and peculiarities that are only really relevant to publishing. So if all of this has left you completely baffled, then definitely let me know, and we can do a proper royalties primer. If it hasn't gone far enough because you are deeply mired within royalties and you want to know even more, then we can do that as well. But hopefully that shows you at least that some of the normal things you'll see in a publishing contract, this is where you put them into Consonance. Great. What is next on our list of things? In the reporting spotlight is batches. So we're going to go over to Consonance again, and we're going to look at what even is a batch. So we've been talking quite a lot of late on our live stream about reporting, about entering in search terms, search conditions, in order to interrogate your data. And so the data that comes back from a search condition query is related to what you've asked it to produce. If you say, I want to see all of the products that are published before today, then that data sort of constrains the information that you're going to see. You're only going to see products that were published before today. So that's a data-driven collection of information. Batches are when logic and data has nothing to do with it. Batches are when you want to group products together because you just do. And you don't want to have to say, oh, it's because they share a pub date, or it's because they share this particular set of attributes. They just belong together because in your human head, there are reasons that may not be communicable to a machine that means they have to be grouped together. And a great example is a catalogue, right? Because in your summer catalogue, it's completely plausible that you'd have a few winter works in there because you're excited about them and you want to pop them in. Or you may want to include a straggler from a previous season that didn't quite get in. All sorts of reasons why you just need some products to be grouped together and please don't ask any more questions, Consonance. So it's completely great to go into, let's say, a particular report here, and we're finding that I've actually done one earlier, and we've got this search condition set up. So what I just said was you can group together things in batches in any which way you want. You can then also search on that batch. So here's a batch I've made. It's called cats. The contents of this batch are cats in space, cats of the world, and cats throughout history. And we've been able here to group those products together just because we want to, but then we've been able to use it as a condition within reporting. So it's the best of both worlds, really. So I just wanted to show you today that there is this condition called products in batch, and you can have multiple batches in here. Why don't we on the fly create a new batch so that we can see even more what we're looking at, and then we can come back here and perhaps include that as well. So one way to do this is to go to a particular work and add the products to a batch from that point. Another way to do it is to start within a search and then add the products to a batch. And another way to do it is to go to your email, get an enormous long list of stuff that contains some ISBN 13s and paste it into a big box. So let's look at that way. So I've gone to the main menu, I'm looking at batches, I go to batches, I can add a batch, and here's my big long list, and I can say new batch, and I can put my ISBNs in here. So 978 588. Normally you would not type your ISBNs, you would copy and paste it from somewhere. So now I have a batch with one product, and if I had an email open and it had a whole load of ISBNs in and it was for this client that I'm signed in as, then I could go and get it, paste it all in. Don't need to strip out all of the non-ISBN 13 strings, that will just work. But now I have my new batch, and I'll click on it to show you the sorts of things that are available. We can subgroup these things. We can sort A to Z, Z to A, and by pub date as well. That's all fine. And we can drag and drop and make this generally a useful thing. If you've got your eye up here on the catalogue and the flyer, then this has been a very exciting set of developments of late, hasn't it? Being able to better get our marketing materials reflecting the greatness of our books. So this is all fine. Another really nice option here is to download all of the contents of this batch into zip files. So this is particularly useful when you need to get all of your cover images out of Consonance, and you might need to have them named in particular ways, or you might need them to be of a particular size and shape. So cast your eye down the left hand side there. Those are all different sort of formats perhaps of image. Now the users of Consonance do not upload each of those formats of cover. No. What you do is you upload the largest, highest resolution one you can find, and then once it's uploaded, in the background, Consonance takes that original file and generates all of these different flavours. And so, like JPEG RGB 400 high, I'm pretty sure that's the format that Waterstones favour. You can tell me if I'm wrong. And 1500 high is nice and high resolution for your high resolution printed marketing materials, perhaps. 50 width is a lovely tiny little icon for when you need that sort of thing. So, really super to be able to upload a single file, have Consonance post-process it into all of these different flavours, and then add your multiple products to a batch and download all of those covers in a big zip file. I mean, that saves a day's work for somebody, I'm quite sure. And the absolute, cherry on the cake there is ebook files at the bottom of the page. if the products that you have added to this batch have had an ebook file uploaded and associated with them, then clicking that download zip button there will get you a zip file of all of the ebooks. And that just means you can take on new ebook aggregators 5 a day, and it's not going to absolutely break your administration workload. So, you know, batches can be really, really powerful for this sort of reason. Grouping things together in ad hoc reasons just because, and then doing something with that grouping. So there's our new batch. Let's go back to our reporting area, because we're going to be able to see, you see I've called it price report, and that's just going to confuse. Batch report is a better name. So products in batch include any of cats, and also our new batch here. And so now, as you know, this is how our reporting works. We have got multiple inputs to our condition here. We are going to be seeing all of the products that satisfy all of these conditions. And let's just have a look at some of the other options here. This is any of. All of will do not the same thing, because all of the products would have to be in both of those batches. So that can be quite useful, like a little Venn diagram. And then include none of. Those products will not appear on this list. I mean, it is quite cat heavy, so you'll just have to trust me on that. So let's go back to any of. Lovely stuff. So so we have added a new batch. We have used a batch as a reporting condition. And the last thing I wanted to show you was doing that from the work overview page, because there's a display that we're going to be able to use to do this. So I'm going to go to, which cat book does not exist here? I've got Space World and History. Space World, History. Evermore Cats will do. So I go to the overview page for Evermore Cats, and we can see down here, bottom left, it's not in any batches at the moment. So I can use this handy dandy button, Add to Batch, and that is going to take me through, did I click on it? That is going to take me through to the reporting area, and it's set up a new report for me, and it says the system identifier is in this list. And this is a long list of all of the different product IDs. We've just come from a work that's got 4 products. These are its system IDs. And here I am, able to add those products to a batch. Sure, I'll add it to my new batch, I think. And then I click there. And now if I go and see new batch, sure enough, there's my Evermore Cats added to it. So, you know, really nice that everything within Consonance sort of, you just follow your nose really, don't you? You follow yourself around the system and click and find stuff and move on. That's my big sales pitch for what Consonance is. Great, good job, I'm in charge of marketing, isn't it? Yes, so I think I've covered what I wanted to say on batches there. So let's go back to our PowerPoint, because so the reason I wanted to talk about batches today was because we got a piece of correspondence in from a treasured user who was stuck on this. How do I add products to a batch? So I have kind of covered, I've sort of spoiled it a little bit. I've covered adding the products to a batch there, but perhaps it will be clearer now that you can do the same thing from a variety of different ways. So those methods are now hopefully available to you, and you can have a try at them. But there's such a payoff, isn't there? Just with that zipped contents bit of the batch, just being able to download 1,000 ISBNs, all named as the ISBN 13.jpg or whatever. Oh, saves so much time and confusion, and it saves getting the wrong image. It's a good thing. Use batches. Very good. Right, what's next? Oh, bonus power move. possibly slightly losing its power if I keep saying how much of a bonus it is. Now, I have put the bonus power move in ahead of the normal segment that we normally do here, because I want to talk about this because it's relevant to the next bit. So I wanted to share with you a few things that aren't actually consonance features, but are ways to get as much as possible out of consonants. And I wanted to just check that you know about multiple tabs, that you know about how to save as within a browser, and also that you know about containers. So, and I'm sure that this won't be news, but you just never know, do you? Because, you know, we all, there's plenty of things that I still don't know about how computers work. So, you know, I just assume that all of us have to learn a lot of things all the time. So my browser of choice is currently Firefox. We're in a pretty much a, well, I don't want to say a golden age. We're in an age that's different from the times when web developers had to accommodate a lot of variance between different browsers. So we are lucky at the moment that a lot of the time, if we write some code, it tends to work on all browsers. It's not a completely true fact, but a lot of the time that is true. So a lot of what I'm going to say about Firefox is going to be super relevant, whether you're using Firefox or Chrome or Edge or a browser of your choice. But one of the things I wanted to show you was having multiple tabs open at once. And I know this might seem a bit silly, but if you don't use it, then it won't take a second for me to share. So what I'm going to do is find a link in Consonance. Here's a link. It's blue and underlined. Clue. It's a link. And I'm going to right mouse and I am going to open link in new window. And I've done that. And here's a new window. And it's making me sign in. So I'm going to, you see, we're all learning, aren't we? Oh my goodness. Open link in new feline local tab. And I've opened it in a new tab. And here is the new tab. This is such a spoiler because the thing I'm going to talk about next is containers, which allows us to log into different websites on different tabs. Okay. So what I did there was right mouse and open a link in a new feline local tab. And you can see just top right here, it says feline local, which is not something that anybody else will see on their computer because I have set up my browser to work on containers. So containers are like individual instances of a browser, but like all running at the same time. And what it means is that you can sign in to the same website at the same time, but in different containers, so you don't have to keep signing in and signing out, signing in and signing out. Maybe it's not relevant to you, I'm not sure, but certainly as a developer, you know, switching between client accounts and different services all the time, it's really handy to be able to do this. So rather than me taking you through exactly how to do it, if you search up Firefox containers, then you can follow your nose through and install the extension that is written for Firefox and set up containers if this is a problem that you experience. But I've done my opening the same website in a new tab here, so you can see that I'm signed in. I've got Cat Start History there. I've got Cat Start History here, and now I can navigate freely in different places. I haven't had to. I'm now not limited to only using the back button to go back to where I was. I can keep myself here, and then I can go off and do whatever else I want to do on this second tab here. So that's, I mean, it's how browsers work, but I just wanted to check that you are aware of it. And the other thing I want to show you is save as. So I'm on an image, could be a file, could be anything. Save image as, and then that's going to save the image to my desktop there, and now I've got the image. So right mouse and having a look at those options there, that can be really useful, really helpful to get data off of Consonance in an ad hoc fashion. So yes, so I tried to get this in the right order, and I don't think I've entirely succeeded. Alas, never mind, because now I am going to do the big reveal about what is new in Consonance. And I wanted to do it in this order because containers are going to be useful for talking about this. Never mind. So we've looked at tabs, we've looked at save as, we've looked at containers. Thank you, bonus power move. Now we are going to look at what's new, and what's new in Consonance this week is two-factor authentication. So we've all seen in the paper that businesses large and small can be subject to security issues. We have allowed single sign-on for certain clients for a long time, but we've made the decision to make that available to everybody. And in the fullness of time, we're going to be requiring clients to use two-factor authentication in sensible circumstances. So this is your heads up as to what that looks like. And I'm going to use browser containers to demonstrate this. So here I am on Firefox, and I am logged in here as Feline Local, happily, because I use containers. I have another container called Snowbooks Local, and I am going to use that container to sign in to Consonance. Same thing. So this is how it works. Emma at snowbooks.com, and the password will no longer work for poor old Emma. Oh, especially if she doesn't spell her company name right. So that's that would normally get me into Consonance, but now I have to check my email for the 6-character one-time passcode. So I won't do that live on YouTube. But what I will say is that this is the flavour of two-factor authentication that we've chosen because it doesn't require users to have another device. It doesn't require you to use your personal mobile phone to have Google Authenticator or similar on it. Which I feel is sort of crossing the boundaries of work and life. So this is a two-factor authentication strategy that keeps you within your work environment. You're going to be using your work email to sign in to Consonance, and Consonance is going to send the passcode to your work email. So yes, if I went to my email and I got the 6-character code, then I would press sign in and it would be business as usual. So that's how this is going to work. Hopefully this is a source of great relief and solace, and we've put a call out in the last week to say if you would like us to turn on two-factor authentication for your entire organisation, then let us know, and a goodly number of treasured clients have immediately asked for that. So if you would like to be amongst their number, then please definitely drop us a line to the usual address. Super duper. Right, so that's what's new. Sneaking in a quick what's new bonus. I am keeping you on your toes, see? I wanted to share with you, again, it's not something that Consonance can claim any credit for. It's not something that we've developed, but I wanted to draw your attention to a couple of interesting things about fonts. And you may have noticed since, maybe it was January or sometime this year anyway, the font that Consonance uses changed a bit. And this is what it looks like. We chose it because it is hyperlegible. And I mean, it is hyperlegible, and that's also its name. So if we go to a page that's got a lot of numbers on it, hopefully a lot of numbers here, you can see that this is a fixed pitch font. Everything lines up really nicely. We've got a very clear 0 character here, which you can read about on the internet, because if you know your zeros, you'll be thinking there's something unusual about that. Why does you can follow your nose and see that. And yes, it's a deliberate font choice. If you want to read more about Atkinson Hyperlegible, then there's some wonderful write-ups. It was developed by the Braille Institute. It's so delightful to read about quality work done with skill and craft. It's just such a joy to read about how they went about building it, testing it, consulting on it, reasoning with it, making sure that the things they cared about were the things that they achieved, a lack of ambiguity. Look how different the capital B is from the 8. Look how different the numeral 0 is from the capital O. Look how clearly disambiguated these tall, upright letters are. Oh, it's just so pleasing to know that there are people in the world paying such attention to things that matter. So this is our font of choice. We're very proud to be using it and to support it, to support the Braille Institute in using it. And I would recommend it as a delightful variable font if you're building any projects and you want to use it yourself. 2 big thumbs up for Atkinson Hyperlegible Next. And it's available for free if you want to have it for free, and it's great to be able to make a good donation to the Braille Institute as well for doing such good work. Another piece of font news is I wanted to draw your attention to this Google font page, which is all about the Noto font. And I think Noto is the word that they use because they wanted to achieve no tofu, which is where you get those like square empty characters when a font character has dropped. We are going to be adding in these fonts to our new marketing materials upon demand. So we're not going to add all of them because there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and not all of them may be relevant. But as you sort of let us know which ones, we're adding simplified Chinese this week, but as you let us know which ones are relevant to you and useful to you, then we will add them in. And again, it's just delightful to see a great piece of long-term work that's come to fruition. There's some really core fonts, and then there's some ones that I've certainly never heard of. So sort of scrolling down this is an absolute delight in itself, to see all of the different, I think there's a music font in here as well. These will be usable and selectable on the marketing materials work that we've been doing. So a classic example for this is title in original language. If you're publishing into English, into Latin script, but you want to reference the original Hindi title, then this will be the way that we make sure that none of the characters are unsupported on the PDFs. Yeah, so and it just delightful to read the story of how these things come to pass, to be honest. Absolutely fascinating. So yes, if you think that your experience of Consonance would benefit from these additional fonts, then let us know. Do we have anything left on the list? No, we don't. Gosh, whew! There's quite a lot to cover there. I would really love to hear whether there's anything that you would like me to cover on these live streams. As you can tell, I'm trying to pitch it to the broadest crowd, but I think as we get deeper and deeper into the functionality of Consonance, really sort of geeking out in one particular area might be exactly what you want. But if it's not exactly what you want, then I don't want to subject you to it. So, see how you feel about that royalty specifiers piece we did earlier. See if you'd like us to talk in a lot more detail about, some code. How does the Onyx code work? What's the process by which products get included in an Onyx message and sent out? There's endless depths we can plumb to talk about the interesting topics that you might want to cover. But this is me soliciting feedback, saying don't hesitate to ask if there's something that you wish I would talk about, because I will. Right, Thanks very much for your attention. That was quite a long one today, but lots to cover. We will get back to work on all of our fonts. There's the what's new section of Consonance of the Consonance live stream is going to be quite long in the next few weeks because there's a lot coming down the pipeline. So I'm going to really look forward to sharing the team's incredibly hard and diligent work with you all. But for now, I'll stop yammering, let you get on with your day.